What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy, Adam Perez. We are back once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, streaming live for you guys today. We got some incredible topics we're going to be breaking down for you guys today. Star Wars Starfighters in the news as the writer is teasing us in regards to what is certainly to come. We got some MCU information for you guys that I found kind of fascinating when it comes to the Eternals. We also got the DCU in the news as Jason Momoa talks about his time on Lobo and maybe a secondary director if the DCU Brave and the Bold Andy Muschietti doesn't return as director. Just my own speculation or theories. We'll certainly talk about it here, guys. But we got some incredible honorable mentions and, of course, your live viewer questions. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of A-Plus Hero Report. It is I, your host, Adam Perez. We are back once again, kicking off February the right way. Happy February 1st, everybody. 2026, we made it. We made it through the first month of the new year. I'm glad everybody's certainly here to join me today. Hopefully your weekend is going well so far, wherever you're watching us at. Look, we had ourselves a terrible snowstorm last weekend all across the country. Hopefully you guys stayed warm, stayed safe, and hopefully wherever you're at, most of the snow is melted. Some of the snow is melted. I don't know. Out here in Fort Worth, Texas, our snow is officially gone as of right now. We were shut down. State was shut down, it felt like, for like 3 to 4 days. But things are back in business now. I think we're supposed to be getting some warmer weather, like in the 60s this week. So thank goodness, this Texas weather is all over the place. But wherever you guys are at, hopefully everybody is safe and sound. And it's just myself today. It's just your boy, Adam Perez, rolling solo dolo. So as we go through these topics today, look, man, I'm going to be relying on you guys in the live chat, in the comment section. If you have any thoughts in regards to some of the topics that we're talking about today, this is your time to shine. Let your thoughts be known in the comments during our live chat. I'll definitely go ahead and bring you guys up on the screen, have a nice little discussion back and forth, because I don't want to just be talking to myself all day. You know what I mean? So, when Adam rolls solo dolo, any sort of comments and live comments certainly go a long way to bounce off some ideas and thoughts for you guys. Let's see here. What do we got in the realm of movie theaters this week? They actually released 3 movies this week, wrapping up the month of January. We have Send Help, which I just talked about. Well, I just saw Send Help yesterday. I'm probably going to do a brief little review for it and a report card over on the TikTok page. If not today, then definitely tomorrow for you guys. So we had Send Help that dropped. We got a brand new Jason Statham film called Shelter that's just released in movie theaters. And I think it's a video game adaptation movie called Iron Lung, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's like a horror kind of video game, or maybe is it a video game? Maybe it's like a PC game. I'm not sure, but I think it's adapted from a game. But Iron Lung is in theaters as well. I hadn't really heard about it until this week, but maybe it's on my radar. I'm not quite sure. I don't know if the trailers hooked me yet or not, but we'll see if I check it out. But I did give my thoughts on the Shelter Jason Statham movie over on our TikTok page. So if you haven't had the opportunity to check out the TikTok page, do yourselves a favor. Let's see here. We got some comments here in the live chat. I'm going to go ahead and bring up and talk about with you guys. Just paying some respects to people here that are joining us live. What's up, Ricky? Appreciate you coming through, man. Just saw the official trailer for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, 35th anniversary remastered, and it will be in theaters in March. Yeah, I have been seeing that trailer going around quite often. I think they're doing a pretty good job with the marketing of that. It's been a minute since I've seen, man, I probably haven't seen Secret of the Ooze in theaters since it was released. I don't know if they've re-released it for any other anniversaries, but I don't think I've been back to see it in theaters since it was in fact released. But it would be cool to kind of revisit it. The trailer for the last Super Sentai movie Gojuger versus Boom Boomger will feature a return of Red Sentai actors, including Gokaiger, Zuoger, Bukinger, and it will arrive in March. Very cool. Also, it's confirmed filming for Power Rangers reboots will begin in April. Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about that last week. We did have a segment for Power Rangers that we talked about in regards to some casting announcements along with the reboot production date. So yeah, definitely begins in April. So everything is coming together nicely. There's also a behind the scene featurette for the upcoming Scream 7. I haven't seen that one, but maybe I'll try and check it out and see if I can post it on the Facebook page when I get a chance. We got Ricky Perez in the house. What's up, Ricky? He also says I finally saw the Pixar Hoppers tickets on sale TV commercial, along with another one will be arriving in theaters in March. Another March film. I still have not seen the trailer for. Have I seen the trailer for Hoppers? I don't believe I have. We got Peg C in the house. What's up, Peg C? Appreciate you certainly coming through. We got Blossom here also. Appreciate you coming through, Blossom. She says, I see your solo again. Yeah, just for today at least. I tried to get Will, but something came up with Will today. I tried to reach out to Indy, but I believe Indy works, or he doesn't necessarily have like his studio or setup at home to get himself on here. I was gonna reach out to Stuart, but it was like the first of the month, so I wanted to give Stuart another week before I see if he's planning on coming back. But I definitely tried to get some people to come on, but just unsuccessful here this weekend. So I do apologize about that, guys. Yeah, my little boy's kind of going through some health things right now. He should certainly be okay, but he's been dealing with some things the past week or so that we've been trying to monitor and make sure that he's doing all right. Billy in the house. Hey, Adam, I appreciate your shout out for me getting the Super Bowl teams for Super Bowl Sunday next Saturday. Yeah, Billy apparently is like a fortune teller when it comes to football. I didn't know that about Billy, but she tends to be able to call her shots when it comes to who'll be reaching the Super Bowl. She did it again last week when I was speaking with her. So we'll see. We'll see. I can't remember who she says she's got winning the Super Bowl. Who's going right now? Seattle and the Patriots, right? That should be a good one. I'm looking forward to it. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Sam Donald and the Seattle Seahawks. They've been looking pretty good, man. They've been looking pretty good. The Patriots defense is certainly no slouch, so it'll be interesting to kind of see how the Seahawks handle it. But I've been impressed really with the Seahawks and a lot of their performances this year. It is just going to be really dependent on Sam Darnold, who has been incredible his last two seasons in Minnesota, along with Seattle Seahawks. And hopefully he doesn't ish or shit the bed at the Super Bowl. But I think I'm just more impressed with Sam Darnold based off of his narrative of like where his quarterback journey started out as over at the New York Jets, only to have like horrible seasons under his belt and horrible coaching and people, ready to kind of throw him under the bus. And now that he's, came back as a backup quarterback, wind up getting the starting job someplace else. And it really just goes to show you how much organizations really do matter in regards to building up their quarterbacks and believing in them. Because Sam Darnold's showing us something that he definitely did not show his early years of being on the Jets. So it's an interesting full circle moment for Sam Darnold. So I'm kind of rooting for the Seattle Seahawks here. But yeah, the Patriots got a great team too, man. They got a great team this year also. Drake May has been really surprising. Blossom, I pray your son will be okay. Yeah, me too. Me too. He should be okay. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks for recovery, but we have a follow-up checkup for him in about a little over a week or so. But things seem to be getting better. I'll just say that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But appreciate you guys certainly coming through. Billy says she's got Seattle for her Super Bowl win next Sunday. There was a part of me that thought the Super Bowl was today. I was about to get so hyped. I'm just trying to think also like trailers for the Super Bowl in regards to what we would probably see. I was trying to think of things from like the MCU and the DCU that we could potentially see. like it honestly would not surprise me if we see a Spider-Man trailer. It also probably wouldn't surprise me if we see another Supergirl trailer, to be quite frank with you, maybe an official trailer for her, instead of a teaser trailer. I think that would be smart on certainly on both of their parts. I'm trying to think of some other movies that are coming out in June. Maybe like a Mortal Kombat new trailer would be pretty dope. Derpy, what's up, Derpy? My glorious king. What's up, Derpy? Appreciate you certainly coming through. But what Super Bowl commercials do you guys plan on seeing or thinking that we're going to be seeing here in about a week's time or so? Let me know you guys' thoughts in the comment section if you know any Super Bowl trailers you would like to see drop this week. All right, guys, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and kick off our show with our first segment of the day. And we're going to get to our honorable mentions portion of the show. For those of you who are new to the channel, honorable mentions are pretty much topics that didn't quite make our top 6, but we felt that you guys certainly still deserve to know about them, as we like to try and make sure that you guys are kept up in regards to things that you might have missed this week or overlooked or whatever the case may be. First up, How to Train Your Dragon 2 is in the news. Looks like we got ourselves production has begun. This is, in fact, the director, Dean DeBlouse, fresh off of his very successful live action adaptation to the first How to Train Your Dragon this past year. They are back in front of the cameras. Filming has begun for part 2. I would assume they're probably bringing all of the entire trilogy to life. And this is going to be the second one. I believe they even have Kate Blanchett certainly returning to voice her character that she did in part 2 also. So they actually got Kate Blanchett to be part of the live action film, which I find absolutely extraordinary. We also have some news in regards to the Harry Potter television series. Apparently, while we don't have a start date or a premiere date yet, it is closing or it is shrinking. The CEOs over at HBO Max say we've been saying 2027. I would say, to narrow it down to some extent, early 2027. And now you're going to ask, does that mean January, February, March, April? That we're not ready to say. I'll say early 2027. So there you go. Early 2027, the Harry Potter television series set to go ahead and debut on HBO Max. Production continues for that series. I don't know how far along in the production they certainly are, but they got an entire year, it feels like, before anything concrete releases. So I would assume probably January, February of next year. I'm not sure exactly like when I guess the time period now that we're starting to see things like a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which began in January. I would assume that they would want to aim for that kind of time period, but late. I don't want to say late holidays, but right after New Year's, it almost feels like a really good time for anything Harry Potter related, especially if it's still set in the winter. You know what I mean? But we'll keep you guys posted. But yeah, as of right now, early 2027 for the Harry Potter television series. What else do we got in the news? The John Rambo, the Rambo prequel movie, is officially in production now. It has officially begun production. The John Rambo movie. They went ahead and teased this photo to commemorate production beginning. And the director had a little note for the fans for John Rambo. When I was 11, I saw First Blood for the first time, and it changed my life. Rambo wasn't just a film to me. It stayed with me growing up and was a defining influence on why I wanted to become a filmmaker. As we begun production on the origin of John Rambo, we're going back to the beginning. This is Rambo stripped down, raw and real, a survival story about endurance, persistence, and lost innocence. It's an honor to shape this next chapter with deep respect for the character and the legacy, and to bring audiences to the start of John Rambo's journey. And this is from director Zhao. Highlander. So the John Rambo prequel film is now in production. So getting excited. I believe Noah Centineo is actually going to be playing John Rambo in the movie as well. Great casting choice, if you ask me personally. But I got a kick out of that one. We also got some brand new first look images. For those of you who don't know, we do have ourselves a Beatles movie set to release. Maybe not just one Beatles movie, but I believe the plan right now is an ambitious 4 Beatles movies. I don't really know if it's just going to be like timeline wise, if each film is going to like focus on a particular character, if it's the same story being told from different perspectives. I really have no idea, but they're planning on making 4 Beatles movies. And this week, we got the opportunity to see first look images of the cast members as their respective Beatle members. So let's go ahead and pull this up here. So you've got Paul Mescal. He's actually going to be playing Paul McCartney. I think he looks incredible in this role. Like that's kind of scary. I'm not gonna lie. Um, we also got Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. Harris Dickinson as John Lennon. We also got Barry Cogan as Ringo Starr. Barry Cogan as Ringo Starr. He looks incredible too. And then last but not least, we also got Joseph Quinn as George Harrison. Production is currently underway with director Sam Mendes doing the Beatle movies. So yeah, this is Joseph Quinn as George Harrison. They looked incredible. How this first look came about was an interesting one. Apparently, they had a postcards with these images on them, kind of hiding around, I believe, like out in London or one of their art institutes or whatever the case may be. They put a bunch of these postcards just all over the Performing Arts Institute, and people wind up discovering them and taking photos and posting them on social media and stuff. They were much more grainy, and then I guess because they started circulating online, that's when the production studio just decided, let's just go ahead and release these first look images. But they look pretty stellar to me, man. I cannot wait. They look really, really good. What else? Also, we got some brand new first look images at the upcoming Highlander movie. For those of you who don't know, Henry Cavill's set to be in the brand new Highlander movie. So yeah, check them out here. And there's another one I believe that wind up dropping too. This one. So yeah, Highlander movie in production. You can see the boom mic over his head over here as they're filming. I can't wait to see this movie. I think this is like right in Henry Cavill's bag. This is going to be directed by the John Wick director, I believe, Chad Stileski. Excuse me. But yeah, some brand new first look images from Highlander as well. And then last but not least, let me see if I can pull this one up here real quick though before we start talking about it. Um, where'd you go? I believe this is it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. All right. And then last but not least, we did have ourselves a brand new teaser trailer for Daredevil Born Again season 2. Now, I did give some of my thoughts. I did do a separate video for this over on the YouTube channel. If you haven't had the opportunity to go ahead and do so, it is currently up on our YouTube channel. Gave my short thoughts about it. But for those of you who have not seen the new teaser trailer for Daredevil Born Again season 2, I believe this is set to drop in March, right? March 24th. Yeah, it's going to be here relatively quickly. For those of you who have not had the opportunity to check out the trailer, though, let me see if I can share this with y'all.
I did my job. paid my dues. Love is for fools, 'cause nobody gives a I feel liberated, over medicated.
I hope you can walk because I'm not carrying you.
It was overrated, damn what you want, I can tell by the look on your.
Saw or shovel?
What have you done? Nobody gives you.
I do love how the logo is design changes too, from the red to the black, definitely insinuating that we're getting ourselves his black and uh black and red costume from what, the Shadowland days sort of thing. But I love this poster too, with the rain that looks like blood. It definitely gives me like Frank Miller vibes in regards to like his Sin City stuff, and just the contrasts of like the blacks and the whites and the reds and things like that. But that's what this kind of reminds me of, just the poster design. But trailer wise, it looks pretty good to me, man. I'm really excited for season two. I'm actually super excited for season two, simply because of the fact that I know that this is more original story and not so much trying to fix a already kind of weakened script, and just kind of Frankenstein a season one together. The fact that this is going to be sort of a fresh start for season two, and the showrunners kind of fully on board, pushing forward the story that they want to certainly have to push forward. So I'm really expecting sort of leaps and bounds of season two feeling just significantly different than season one, and improving upon itself. But everything looks good. I'm a big fan of the soundtrack. I'm not a fan of the soundtrack stopping in between this trailer in order to highlight certain scenes. To me, it makes the trailer feel a little bit disjointed at times. I want to say I saw on Disney Plus streaming, like, their ad for this being a little bit different than the trailer that was released to the public. So yeah, I'm not sure how vastly different it was, but there were a couple sequences in there that either went on longer or were looked differently, like shot differently, different angles and stuff of the same scenes. So I am kind of curious to see what the final result is definitely going to be. But we got the return of Jessica Jones here, coming back March 24th. What does that mean for the rest of the Defenders? Are they in this television series also? I have no idea. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed in that regards. I am kind of curious as to what it is that's bothering Matt Murdock. Like, as he's dancing with Karen, it seems as though his senses are being overloaded. And then that scene is quickly followed up by somebody that seems to be dressing up as Wilson Fisk, seemingly trying to get out maybe some sort of like message or whatever the case may be. It feels very much like a rebel cell or like a terrorist group or something like that, with like a video message that they're trying to deliver to the people of New York City. Um, or mocking Wilson Fisk, kind of in some way. So I am kind of curious if that will play a role in regards to season two. Maybe there's another group behind the scenes that are delivering these messages, or maybe the technology that they have. When they broadcast something, maybe that messes up with Matt Murdock's senses. I really have no idea, but I really love seeing how things are kind of coming together. You got protesters out there clearly upset about the concept of martial law being in the city. But then there's also what feels like propaganda pieces of the AVTF, like amongst the people in the neighborhood, high-fiving and smiling and helping out the elderly folks, sort of thing. So I do think there's going to be an interesting contrast in regards to how Wilson Fisk sort of like promotes what's happening, in New York City in like the rosiest of lights compared to the reality of what's really on the ground, in the sense that there is certainly upheaval and people kind of pushing back. Matt Murdock and Karen Page definitely seem to be on the run in here also, maybe a little bit in their hideout, getting the opportunity to be close with one another once again, which I'm kind of interested to kind of see how that relationship continues to grow and build. Because for me in season one, when Karen returns to the show, that's when I feel like the show actually got better. Like there is something valuable, I think, for the Matt Murdock character, who's missing once again. How many times has he gone missing in like the 4 seasons of Daredevil? Like twice, 3 times already. My man's always missing. If he's not presumed dead, maybe he's kidnapped somewhere. He just goes off the radar and comes back and continues his business like it's no big deal half the time. So I am curious to see having Matt Murdock and Karen Page working together, him clearly teaching her some things, and really how they plan on bringing down Wilson Fisk, if anything, by the end of this season. But intriguing stuff, man. Intriguing stuff. But again, March 24th, season 2, Daredevil Born Again. I believe they are currently in production for season 3, or it's set to begin relatively soon. So they're either in production for season 3 right now, or it's about to start, which is a good thing for us because they have been very adamant about getting us seasons on a yearly basis again. Television has returned to its normalcy, or maybe not fully, but almost there. Now we need to just go back to 20 episode seasons. No, I don't. It's funny. I don't know if I want to go back to 20 something episode seasons. I'll just be I'll just be real with you. I'm rewatching Star Trek Enterprise, and I was like, cool, let me go ahead and tackle season 1. And as I'm going through it, it didn't even occur to me to check how many episodes there were. I think I got to like episode 17 or something like that, and I'm like, how many more episodes do I got this season? 26. 26 episodes in season 1. And then you best believe next year they probably dropped an additional 20 something episodes for season 2, all within a year's turnaround time. So I know it's possible. Streaming services, I think, has just made us lazy and accept lesser amount of episodes per season. But I don't know if I want to go back to the 20. I think like maybe 15. 15 at like maybe the most, maybe 18 if your show is really great. But after 18, no, I don't know if like mentally I might be checking out. I might be checking out. But yeah, guys, let me know. Let me know your thoughts. Would you ever want to go back to 20 plus episode seasons? Do you like the binging format of like 8 to 10, or is there like a happy median in between that you certainly would like to see when it comes to television episodes per season? Definitely go ahead and let me know your thoughts. We got PCW in the house. PCW, PCW, PCW. What's up, PCW? Appreciate you coming through, man. All right, guys. And with that out of the way, you know what? Before we get into our main topics, I gotta sip on this coffee, man. I gotta sip on this coffee. I wanted to sleep in a little bit more. I didn't get the chance to, though. All right, guys. With that out of the way, let's get into our main topics of the day. We got some great ones here, some insightful ones, I certainly thought. We're going to be kicking off our show with some Star Wars talk. We got the writer for Star Wars Starfighter in the news here, not revealing too much, but something that I thought was interesting to explore at least. We also got some Eternals news as the director, Chloe Zhao, fresh off of I believe she just got nominated for Best Director for Hamnet this year. She's talking a little bit about her time putting the MCU movie, The Eternals, together. Insightful stuff. We also got Jason Momoa talking about his time as Lobo and the potential future. James Wan is back in the news. We got some Last of Us Season 3 for you guys. But first and foremost, Star Wars Starfighter is up. So let's go ahead and talk about it, guys. Sean Levy, the director, has officially wrapped production for Star Wars Starfighter. It's currently in post production, set for a 2027 release date. Um, People have been making the rounds. One of the things that I've been kind of really focusing on is just hearing what some of the actors and the people that have had the opportunity to put this movie together are certainly saying about the project. The last time that we talked a little bit about Star Wars Starfighter, I believe it was Sean Levy himself who discussed the idea that Tom Cruise wind up paying a visit to the Starfighter set and, in fact, filmed one of the sequences, and not just any particular scene in the movie, but apparently a lightsaber duel. That's right. Tom Cruise filmed a lightsaber duel on Star Wars Starfighter. And I got a lot of people asking, like, if there's a lightsaber involved, does that mean that we're going to have some recognizable characters um, as a part of this movie as well? And so this week, the writer Jonathan Troper decided to go ahead and share his thoughts on that. So let's go ahead and break this down. This comes to us from, I think I got two articles here that we're going to talk about a little bit. This is from Screen Rant. Ryan Gosling's Star Wars movie franchise connections and rumored returning characters addressed. It says now in an interview with Screen Rant's Liam Crowley for his Prime Video action comedy, The Wrecking Crew, Jonathan Troper offered some insights into what's to come from Starfighter. The writer first returned to the recent reveal that Tom Cruise visited the set and helped design a lightsaber fight in the film, expressing being so bummed that I missed it as he left the set 3 days prior to Cruise's arrival, which Troper said, couldn't believe I missed it. Expanding on lightsabers being included in the film and evolving the franchise in a new direction, Troper went to share that his and Levy's goal was to tell a completely new story. Looking at the wider connections to the series, he stated that they weren't bound by any structures of the past movies, and as such, were able to avoid having to include too many familiar elements, namely returning characters. So this is what Jonathan Troper had to say. He says, obviously, lightsabers are a part of that universe and that part of that galaxy. I'm so careful not to reveal anything, but essentially, I think it's known that we have no legacy characters. You're not going to see any of the characters you've seen in the other movies. So there are certain things that are still hallmarks of Star Wars that it's good to have it in there. But more than that, I can't say. So yeah, he's very much being look, I mean, when it comes to Lucasfilm and Star Wars, you really can't say too much in regards to what's truly going on behind the scenes back there. But he does give a little bit of insight. So yeah, again, obviously lightsabers are part of that universe and part of that galaxy. I'm so careful not to reveal anything. I think it's known that we have no legacy characters. You're not going to see any of the characters you've seen in other movies. So there are certain things that are still hallmarks of Star Wars that it's good to have in there. A couple of things definitely stand out to me. There has been just long rumored about the idea of Daisy Ridley's character, Rey Skywalker, possibly popping up in this movie. You know, she has actually also been in recent interviews when people have asked her about the return of Rey Skywalker because of the fact that her movie has not been greenlit yet. I don't even know if they have a final script for the Rey Skywalker movie or if that's kind of being put on hold. But she's been saying things in her interviews to insinuate the fact that her character plans on returning. You'll see her sooner rather than later, or good things come in time, sort of thing. And so it's speculation has begun as to whether or not she will pop up anywhere else. Now, for me, I'm pretty sure the Simon Kinberg brand new trilogy that we're going to be having is probably going to be focused, maybe not solely on her, but definitely have her maybe included in some way, maybe as like as a mentor to the brand new characters or the new order that she's kind of uh, creating, several years after the rise of Skywalker. So, while I don't expect her, I really have no idea at this point whether or not she's going to be getting her own movie or not. But it is one of those things where I've always thought to myself, if you're not going to give Ray Skywalker her own movie, the idea of her popping up somewhere, I think, is relatively important. Just to continue to keep her as a part of the galaxy, understanding that her character is important to the direction in which the galaxy goes. So the fact that he says in here there's no legacy characters, look, I am kind of curious if, while I can understand the idea of no legacy characters being in this movie, and I think that's probably a good idea. When you're saying that we have no legacy characters, does that mean like nobody even like cameos? Like is Ray Skywalker not even a cameo in this movie? Um, I would be kind of curious to see that. Um, like, are they tiptoeing around their words very carefully? Like, is there no legacy characters in any of the big set pieces, sort of thing, part of the main storyline? Um, and then yet there are legacy characters that may have a small little cameo or be referred to or hinted at, that I really don't know because Daisy really is suggesting the idea that maybe she's got something coming up that we aren't necessarily even aware of as of right now. So we'll see. Look, I if anything, I will say this. I am fascinated by the idea that there is a lightsaber in here, considering the fact that, if according to them, there's no legacy characters. So for me, my question would be, how did the lightsaber arrive there? They talk about the idea that, look, we still want to make Star Wars feel like Star Wars. And some of those hallmarks of what Star Wars is things like the Force, things like lightsabers and battles and whatnot. Maybe not necessarily the legacy characters that they're suggesting, but if there is a lightsaber involved, I do have some questions. And that question is, where did this lightsaber come from? How far out? Like, are we even still in the same galaxy as like Coruscant? Or have we like, are we in the outer regions somewhere? Or are we in a completely different galaxy? Right? Like the cool thing to me about Star Wars is I feel like Star Wars has the ability to kind of go all over, not only in the galaxy that they're in, but I feel like we've even heard of like other legacy novels and other legacy books of, planets that have left the solar system or left the galaxy and gone somewhere else and come back, or alien races from another galaxy locating this one and like coming into our Star Wars universe and causing mayhem and things like that, right? So the possibility of like, I mean, you even think of like the Rebels, right? As the Star Wars Rebels and Thrawn in them, the idea of them being kind of displaced into like another galaxy or whatever the case may be for years before they actually kind of return. It makes me wonder, like, if there were other Jedi at any particular point in time that wind up leaving this galaxy or leaving the inner worlds and going out into the outer regions somewhere, or just a completely different galaxy, maybe fresh off of Order 66, ran away and stumbled onto some sort of adventure that took them completely out of their solar system and galaxy, and wind up creating a new Jedi Order somewhere else, outside of our known regions or our known galaxy, sort of thing, and seeing like what those teachings might have turned out to be. Like, I'm really fascinated to kind of see where this lightsaber has kind of traveled from. Who was its original owner? Are the people that we're going to be focusing on in here, are they Jedi themselves? Is it the idea of are they second, third generation like Jedis in training, that wind up helping out this kid, sort of thing? Like, I'm really fascinated to find out like the journey of the Jedi along with this particular lightsaber, that they're kind of hinting at in here that's going to be used in this lightsaber battle. So it does bring a lot of questions in regards to how expansive Sean Levy really is kind of making this world. If we are now 5 years after the rise of Skywalker, new planets, new characters, new stories that doesn't seem to be necessarily driven by like the Empire or the First Order. Where does your threat come from? And so I am kind of hoping that Sean Levy does a good enough job of really separating this movie from the others. Now, Kathleen Kennedy has talked about the idea that this is meant to be a one-off. So, if this movie is successful, maybe they could eventually give us a sequel to this, but it definitely feels as though it's singular in its focus of just making a good Star Wars movie. And if you can take some of the elements of Star Wars that make Star Wars great, like the concept of Jedi and lightsabers, just putting it in a locale, different time period, separated from all the baggage. I am kind of curious as to how fresh of a story you can really make and how compelling it could be to introduce us to brand new characters that we might kind of fall in love with in brand new worlds that don't necessarily seem like the Coruscants of the world or the inner regions of the galaxy that a lot of us have seen throughout the years and some of the familiar planets that we've been in. So to kind of create a whole new sandbox within the Star Wars universe, I think sounds really appealing to me. And trying to do something vastly new. So we'll see. We'll see what truly no legacy characters mean. If that means that they're really not the focus of the story, I'm cool with. But I still think you can say no legacy characters and still in some way, shape, or form insert a Ray Skywalker cameo in there. Like I personally would like to see it. I just think it's a big missed opportunity. So we'll see what happens in that regards. But that wasn't the only thing that the writer wanted to share. Let me see if I can bring this next article up. This one comes to us from People magazine. Let me see here. Where's it? Starfighter writer teases totally new Star Wars movie. On Thursday, Jonathan Troper, who wrote the new Star Wars installment, told People at the premiere of his The Wrecking Crew. So he's making his rounds when it comes to The Wrecking Crew right now, since I think they just released it on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. He says, talking about the film itself, I would say I think Sean made a phenomenal movie. Troper says, when asked for an update on the highly anticipated Starfighter, Gosling is amazing to watch, and I'm super excited to just bring new characters and new worlds to the franchise. We're doing something totally new, and that's really exciting. I'm trying to see what else Jonathan Troper has done. It is one of those things where the movie itself is something that I kind of his Wrecking Crew movie. It actually looks pretty fun from the trailers that I've seen. I kind of want to check it out. It is currently out on streaming. He also wrote the series Warrior, which I thought was a great series. Let's say he had about 30 episodes of that, but yeah, he created it and wrote Warrior. He also was the writer on the television series C with Jason Momoa. I believe that was Apple TV. He wrote a couple episodes on that. He also wrote the Adam Project as well, previously working alongside Sean Levy in that. So they definitely have some experience of working together. Looks like he was also a big writer for the TV series Banshee back in the mid 2010s, which I remember hearing pretty good things about the Banshee series also. So he's got some pretty good quality stuff kind of under his belt, if I could be honest with you. Banshee, I heard great things about. I heard great things about. Warrior was a really fun series. I haven't had the opportunity to check out The Wrecking Crew, but I think the chemistry between Batista and Jason Momoa is probably top notch in that film. So I kind of want to check it out myself. And he did the Adam Project also, just so you guys are familiar with who Jonathan Troper certainly is. But I love hearing what he has to say. You know, Sean made a phenomenal movie. Again, it's really hard to find the writers or whatever or actors that are going to crap on the film itself. But you know, I've heard a ton of positive things about it. We'll see how it turns out. But I feel like Sean Levy's one of those people in Hollywood that you can rely on to make you a solid, good, enjoyable film. Whether it could be amazing, earth shattering, astounding, life changing, that I certainly don't know. But I do think Sean Levy is more than capable of being a reliable director and writer and working alongside people that he's worked with to make a good quality film. So I'm really excited for this. The more and more that I hear about it, the more excited I personally truly do get for it. Let's see here. Blossom says Tom Cruise with a lightsaber. No, not Tom Cruise with a lightsaber. Tom Cruise filmed a lightsaber battle. Just so you know. It would be nice to see Tom with a lightsaber, but him voice Captain Planet. And you know what? Him voicing Captain Planet, I don't think is a too bad of an idea. We got Kiki and Luca in the house. What's up, Kiki and Luca? Appreciate you coming through. Thank you so much and with the super chat today. I mean, you never seem to disappoint me, Kiki and Luca. I really appreciate the continued support here, guys. Look, again, just for people who know, we don't have any sponsors here whatsoever. So our growth from our channel is really very dependent on you guys and all your support towards the channel. So I really do appreciate that each and every time. Blossom says, I wonder what this new lightsaber is. Yeah, me too. I am kind of curious as to who the past owners of this lightsaber certainly might have been. Who's wielding it? Will Ryan Gosling wield it? Will this young child that he seemingly is protecting wield it? There are rumors of I believe, Amy Adams character in this movie potentially being a Jedi of some sort. I know there's been some rumors that maybe she's playing like the Mara Jade kind of version of Star Wars characters. That I certainly don't know, but you can't go wrong with Amy Adams. Honestly, I think if she is the Jedi, I am kind of curious again how she got to where she is, how she stayed under the radar. Did she travel through the stars and new galaxy or just the outer regions of our galaxy in order to be in hiding all this time? Like, there's a lot of questions that I certainly have, but I think it's going to be a pretty informative one. Look, you know, the truth of the matter is, right now where we are in Star Wars world, we only have two movies that are set in stone right now. We've got The Mandalorian and Grogu. Oh, I think that's the other one that I think that we're going to be getting at the Super Bowl. When we talk about Super Bowl trailers, not just the MCU and DCU, but we also got to put Lucasfilm on the map because Lucasfilm has a Star Wars movie coming out. We've only gotten ourselves a teaser trailer. I think the Super Bowl is a perfect opportunity to give us a brand new official trailer for The Mandalorian and Grogu, something that is going to get Star Wars fans truly ready. And I'm hoping that it's a trailer that makes it feel significantly different from the television series. We need a successful Mandalorian and Grogu movie at the box office, and that hype machine has got to begin sooner rather than later. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we have a Mandalorian and Grogu trailer at the Super Bowl, because that movie's dropping this year, and the other movie is Star Wars Starfighter. After that, everything is just very much in limbo, according to Kathleen Kennedy. That's going to be very dependent on the next CEOs. Lin Win, what was her last name? Damn it, I can't remember the co-CEO now, outside of Dave Filoni and Lenwyn Brenner. These two are really going to be shaping the direction in which Lucasfilm goes in. You've got a James Mangold script and Bo Williamson from Andor, who wrote a script for his Dawn of the Jedi movie. It seems very much sort of outside the box of traditional Star Wars, so that movie itself might be a risk, but it seems as though that script is ready to go. It's just dependent on Dave Filoni and company in regards to if that's something that they want to tackle and move forward with. They also got the Adam Soderbergh and Adam Driver movie for the Hunt for Ben Solo. that seemingly is still a possibility, but is sitting on the sidelines, whether that ever sees the lights of day. Taika Waititi's movie, I think, is on the burner. Um, Donald Glover's Lando, I think Lando series or Lando movie, whatever it's turned out to be, that script is kind of like on the back burner. Also, like we've got a lot of projects that are maybe needing a couple of pieces here or there before being greenlit, but it seems as though there's a lot of things that are certainly still together, just sitting on the desks at Lucasfilm, trying to figure out what's the next step. I know that they're currently waiting for Simon Kinberg, who seemingly it felt like had to, I don't want to say rewrite things, but had to come up maybe with a better pitch for his trilogy that now is doing more writing and should have something come March for them in regards to like early scripts or whatever the case may be, or early outlines to kind of see if his trilogy is the next direction. So there's a lot of decisions that certainly have to be made when it comes to Star Wars. And there's a part of me that honestly, there are two things that I need to see from Star Wars. One, I need Dave Filoni and this new CEO to do some sort of interview to give Star Wars fans an idea as to what is to come next or what their vision for Star Wars certainly is. And I have a feeling that a lot of these announcements won't be official for like another year. Like it would not surprise me if we are just sitting in limbo um leading into 2027 with no real guidance as to what's to kind of come next. Maybe they might announce something being greenlit earlier, like after the Mandalorian and Grogu wind up happening. So that going into Star Wars Celebration in 2027, maybe we have some things that we know that we can kind of look forward to being seen like in the works. But I think if anything, Star Wars Celebration next year will be really eye-opening in regards to the direction that Star Wars is going to go. But as of right now, everything that I'm hearing from Star Wars Starfighter seems exciting. I'm personally really pumped for it. I think we can use some fresh faces like Ryan Gosling and others. Certainly, the cast is stacked. Matt Smith, Mia Goth, Aaron Pierre. I mean, we got some really great quality people in this Star Wars movie. So I'm really hoping that Sean Levy knocks it out of the box. And everybody that's talked about it, from the writer himself to the actors, have nothing but great things to certainly say about it. So keeping my fingers crossed that when it comes to the next couple of Star Wars movies, we're going to be in good hands. But let me know your thoughts, guys. You hear this stuff from the writer himself talking about while no legacy characters, we are at least utilizing things that make Star Wars, like lightsabers and lightsaber battles, and thinking that Sean Levy has made a phenomenal movie. That's something you think everybody's expected to say, or do you have some belief in what he's saying? I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts in the comment section box below. And with that out of the way, let's move on to our next topic here. We're going to change course a little bit and get into some of our comic book movie genre franchises. As this week, Sam Raimi is in the news. That's right, the classic director from the Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire, also the Evil Dead franchise. It's not Send Me to Hell. Go to Hell. What is the name of that damn movie that he made? He's made some classics, regardless to say. Also fresh off of Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness. He also has a brand new movie that dropped this week called Send Help, starring Dylan O'Brien, along with Rachel McAdams. Had the opportunity to check it out for myself yesterday, and it is classic Sam Raimi. It is such a fun and good movie. I had a blast with Send Help yesterday. But he's in the news. He's actually kind of been in the news the past couple of weeks in general, leading up to Send Help being getting released this week. And Sam Raimi seems to want to get back to making comic book movies. So much so that I believe one of the complaints that he had about comic book movies was the idea that he doesn't get enough of them. And I'm not lying to you, as his one user asked the filmmaker to share his biggest criticisms of modern superhero movies, and his answer, they don't offer me more of them, is what his reply is. So this feels very much like Sam Raimi wants to get back into his comic book making bag. He's kind of, I feels like he's kind of offended that nobody has offered to give him more comic book making jobs. And this week, I think he's throwing his name in the hat for one particular character, that being none other than Batman. That's right. Sam Raimi would love to do a Batman movie. Now, I know what people are going to say. Adam. Listen, we already have Matt Reeves on the Batman movie. We know that that's happening. Adam, we know that Andy Muschietti is set to go ahead and be the director for Brave and the Bold. There's really no possibility that Sam Raimi could ever do a Batman movie. And look, you're probably right. You're probably right to some extent. But there have been rumors that with the development for Brave and the Bold taking as long as it is, that the possibility of Andy Muschietti's schedule might be thrown off, especially after the success of the Welcome to It or Welcome to Derry It series. I believe he's probably fully invested in doing a season 2. There's just speculation, I should say, that by the time they're ready to film anything for Brave and the Bold, Andy Muschietti's schedule might be full. Who certainly knows? So is there a possibility that somebody else could come in and take over for Andy Muschietti? Possibly. But let's go ahead and dive into this and see exactly what it is that Sam Raimi is saying here. So this is from Movie Web. Sam Raimi revealed DC movies he attempted to make and characters he would love to get his hands on. Raimi is behind the character and behind the camera in the new horror survival thriller Send Help, in which Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien star as an employee and her boss who find themselves stranded on a desert island where they must survive each other as well as the elements. It's a great movie. It's a really fun movie. I had a blast with it. This is what he says. Which DC movies he already attempted to make and which he would love to be involved in. He says, I love Batman. I tried to make a Batman film. I couldn't get the rights. So he's attempted to do this before. I love The Shadow. I also couldn't get the rights to that one. But Superman's always been one of my favorites. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of DC characters that I love. And it would just take the writers to come up with the original story based on their character. That's true to the character and part of their real universe, not something that disappoints the fans, but something that's based on fans' love of the character and brings out the best moment of those characters and their proper conflict or the right challenges for the right hero. If it was a story that had a real journey for that particular individual, then I'd love to make that movie. It says here fans still want him to make Spider-Man 4. Look, I'm not one of those people. I'm just be honest with you. I am not one of those people that want to see Sam Raimi make a Spider-Man 4. If anything, I think I've said this before for No Way Home. I think No Way Home is a proper and perfect send-off for Tobey Maguire's character along with Andrew Garfield. I do not need additional Spider-Man movies from those characters. But if we were to get them, I wouldn't be disappointed. But I got my eyes set on other things for Sam Raimi. And the truth of the matter is, I think Sam Raimi would make one hell of a Batman movie. I truly believe that. I really do. I think of just his style. And first off, when I think of I was just thinking about this the other day when I was thinking of while I was watching Send Help. You know, he has got such a Sam Raimi has got such a unique directing style about him. He's got such a unique directing style about him that I think can lead into the fantastical sort of really well. His style of directing kind of almost reminds me a little bit of that of Tim Burton. Somebody that can take a character that's grounded but also make them feel larger than life while at the same time sort of embracing the cartoonish fantastical elements of really dark characters and scenarios. I think he's shown that already with his horror background when it comes to Sam Raimi. If you need something really dark and really heavy, Sam Raimi could provide that for you. Like if you just watch even the recent um multiverse of madness, what he was able to do with an evil sort of scarlet witch, along with the different worlds and um situations that he puts Doctor Strange into, having to deal with demons and magic and things like that. Like all of that in the disguise of like a horror sort of comic book movie. I think Sam Raimi plays along with that extremely well. Um, the fact that he was able to do something like that already with, like, say, what, Darkman, I believe, back in years ago. I think he could kind of bring that same style of storytelling and directing to something like Batman. Especially when you're trying to separate your Batman from that of Matt Reeves. You know, because it feels as though James Gunn's Batman wants to tap into the fantastical a little bit more. Maybe not a full on Joel Schumacher esque, but maybe a nice balance between a Joel Schumacher and kind of like a Tim Burton, where you're not afraid to tackle characters like a Clayface or a Mr. Freeze or, who a Mad Hatter or whatever the case may be. Like these characters are so quirky and so fantastical. Yet I do believe somebody like Sam Raimi, who has a style for over the top visuals at times, um, always getting really great sort of makeup artists to create, whether that be zombies or, just really terrible looking creatures on the big screen. Like I can see Sam Raimi's style, especially after doing something like what he did with Doctor Strange, really fitting into the world of a Batman movie. And I personally would love to see Sam Raimi do more comic book movies. I really do. Like I love Send Help, and anytime Sam Raimi wants to do an original anything, I'm there for it. But I do want to see more Sam Raimi in comic book movies. He did one of the, great Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire outside of, Spider-Man 3 for myself. But I do think there's a whole vast of DC characters he can still kind of mess around with. Batman being at the forefront, if they ever wanted to kind of explore that Justice League dark side of things, if the Guillermo del Toro aspect is like really gone and there's no chance that del Toro will ever do anything like that, I can see him easily doing like a Constantine movie, or I don't even know. I was gonna say maybe even Zatanna, or even a Justice League Dark movie. Like I think Sam Raimi is more than capable of bringing the magic and the dark magic and demons, anything sort of horror or magic related. Maybe even like a Dead Man movie. I can see Sam Raimi kind of helming. You know what I mean? Like just based off of his style of directing. So I hope he gets the opportunity to do so. Again, he himself thinks the biggest problem with comic book movies is that he isn't offered more of them. And I think there's some truth to that. I mean, in the sense of like, that's not what's wrong with comic book movies, but it is wrong that he's not making more comic book movies because I think regardless of how you feel about um Doctor Strange multiverse of madness from like a directing perspective, yeah, I thought he knocked that movie out of the water. I thought he did a brilliant job with that movie. And I kind of want to see him do more here. So look, Andy Muschietti, if for some reason something comes up, my man, and you can't direct Brave and the Bold, I would not mind seeing Sam Raimi kind of step into those shoes if James Gunn is open for it, and seeing if he would bring a great chemistry between him, James Gunn, Christina Hodson, who's the writer, and see if there's some really fun things that they can do with this movie. Again, if not a Batman movie, I just need him to be a part of the DCU in some way, shape, or form. He's definitely has put his stamp on Marvel characters already, and I'm sure there's probably a plethora of other Marvel movies he could probably do. But I just think Sam Raimi, having tried to get the rights for Batman at some point in time, along with the Shadow, I just think his style of filmmaking would really work fantastically well for a DCU film. But look, guys, these are simply my A plus opinions. I definitely want to know yours. What do you guys think? Did you find it interesting that he name dropped Batman? I wonder if he's throwing his name in the hat in case Anthony Muschietti can't go. Like, guys, I'm here. If you need me to rotate in, I got you. What movies would you personally like to see Sam Raimi try and tackle if he were to join the DCU? I would absolutely love to know. Sticking in the DCU, though, this past couple of weeks, we've been getting a little bit more look at Supergirl. Again, I do expect at least I can't say I expect, but I would hope that the DCU has something planned for the Super Bowl in regards to giving us a new look at Supergirl. Whether or not we do get a new look at Supergirl or not, we have been getting new looks at Lobo. Lobo promotional art has been dropping along with our very first look at Lobo this past week. We had a first look teaser trailer, I believe, of Jason Momoa exiting his movie trailer, talking about his excitement level for portraying Lobo. And we get this beautiful shot of him finally, outside of the original Supergirl teaser that was like all covered in shadow, with the exception of just like the light from his cigar that he had lit. We finally get the opportunity to not only see him riding on his wagon, his motorcycle with the flames, but actually get an opportunity to hear his laugh, his voice, and visually get the opportunity to see what Lobo certainly looks like. So as they're on the high of Jason Momoa showcasing himself as Lobo, we do have ourselves an interview with him in regards to the future of his character that I thought was kind of interesting. So let's go ahead and bring this up here. Jason Momoa addresses Lobo's DCU future. I believe Supergirl is set to go ahead and drop sometime in July or June or July. Maybe it'll tell us here in the article. But DC Universe will not only see the debut of Supergirl on the big screen this summer, but also the return of Jason Momoa in the superhero genre. However, this time the Arthur Curry star will be playing DC's Lobo. In an interview with Screen Rant's Liam Crowley for The Wrecking Crew, that's right, The Wrecking Crew did drop this week, Jason Momoa spoke about the differences of jumping from Zack Snyder's franchise to Gunn's DCU. Let's see what he had to say here. When asked what he noticed creatively, the differences between these two DC properties, Momoa says, I think they're very different because they're also different characters. I came in on a wisp of an idea on Batman versus Superman until Justice League hit. The Game of Thrones alum elaborated that it was all pretty mapped out by Zach. He had it all very mapped out. However, for his DC future, he says, I only know Lobo's in this one. And so we'll see what the future of all that holds. I would love for his own thing to be coming out. Momoa says, I don't know if that I don't know if there is. I think it's probably up to the audience and how they feel about it. But I think he's got his own things mapped out, and I'm not privy to any of that. He continued sharing how I think everyone's going to be. He says, I think everyone's going to be. James's career is just equal to what Zach's done, what they've built, and what their worlds are. They're amazing directors, world building. He also says, so I'm pretty excited. When I got to step into Lobo, I mean, that was a pinch for me, and my first scene is pretty gnarly. I'm pressed to see another actor pull off that first take, what we did. I'm excited to talk about it because it's hard. I grabbed it with gusto, and I'm very, very excited about it. First off, I love hearing that. I read this article, and I think I might have missed that last paragraph when I was reading it. But the idea is I'm pressed to see another actor pull off that first take, what we did. I need to see that first take. I mean, the fact that you come out swinging with a hot first take that the director decides to go ahead and keep is always something certainly to go ahead and brag about. But I am kind of curious as to, as this movie goes on and we explore more of it coming together. I hope that this, what he's talking about, is kind of captured in a behind the scenes moment. First impressions of him maybe walking out to set dressed as Lobo and him having to deliver his first scene and his first line. I'm kind of curious to see what that first scene certainly was. But he's pretty excited for getting an opportunity to play Lobo here. I also do want to bring up something that he says here. I think everyone's going to be, and then he clarifies, James' career is just equal to what Zach's done, what they've built, and what their worlds are. They're amazing directors, world builders. And I have to agree with him. I have to agree with him here. It's funny. I think we've talked. I think there has been talk, especially this past year, leading into Superman, like some of the best comic book movie directors and who's out there, like whose names really kind of lead the charge. And I think there's like three or four or maybe five that you can kind of put up there, right? You've got the Russo brothers, you got Zack Snyder, you got James Gunn. Um, who else do we got? Maybe some would even say Ryan Coogler. Um, I mean, I'm talking like current generation, right? Because you could always throw Sam Raimi's name in there, Christopher Nolan, right? That's another name out there for sure. Um, but I do appreciate him sort of comparing and contrasting Zach and James. I mean, they both are world builders. What Zack Snyder was able to do, at least with Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Justice League. I think from like a trilogy perspective, I'm a fan of it. Like I know some people, I'm definitely not a Snyder cultist, but I'm also definitely not afraid to admit that I enjoyed Zack Snyder's vision for the DCEU and I really wanted it to succeed. Um, so I'm a big supporter and fan of what he was able to do there. But James Gunn is also no slouch. I mean, the man himself also world built and created Guardians of the Galaxy and that sort of whole cosmic world inside of things. Then the Peacemaker television series stuff that he's been capable of doing, the Suicide Squad movie, and then Superman, right? I mean, James Gunn has so many comic book properties under his belt that he's had to kind of world build and build things around. And now that he's a part of having to build out the DCU also, it's kind of hard to argue that James Gunn shouldn't be up there as one of the best comic book directors, let alone world builders. So I appreciate Jason Momoa kind of putting some respect on both of those man's names in regards to what they're capable of doing, and bringing it up to the point of also showcasing, just despite them both being great at what they do, that they both have two completely different visions in regards to how they want to build their world and how they plan on doing things for their characters. So I find that really fascinating. He says, I only know what that Lobo's in this one, talking about the future of Lobo. And so we'll see what the future of all that holds. I would love for his own thing to be coming out. I don't know if there is. I think it's probably up to the audience and how they feel about it. But I think he's got his own things mapped out, and I'm not privy to that. So we'll see what happens when it comes to the future of Lobo here. Look, I do expect Lobo to get some more screen time somewhere else. He hasn't been announced for Man of Tomorrow, and I don't know if he will be announced for Man of Tomorrow until maybe this movie comes out. Although I think production for Man of Tomorrow might be definitely starting this year. I don't know exactly when filming begins. So I am kind of curious if he would be announced in something like Man of Tomorrow prior to the Supergirl release, or if they'll try and keep it as secret as possible. And once the Supergirl movie comes out, if it's received well, if then maybe they'll make an announcement that yeah, he'll be back for Man of Tomorrow or not. I think this is a case of like wait and see for the future, and I think Jason Momoa is right in the sense of you have to see how audiences react first. I think that's what they waited to do a little bit with the Superman movie, because right after that there was talks of like a Jimmy Olsen television series. Maybe Mr. Terrific has got a bright future ahead of him, and something maybe being in early development behind the scenes, right? But like those things don't come to fruition until you see how the audience reacts to it, and if it's something that the audience might want. And to be perfectly honest with you, like I can already see Jason Momoa getting a Lobo movie or a high profile television series, like a limited series or whatever the case may be, like after his time in Supergirl. I think it would be a really great. We talked a little bit about Supergirl. David Zaslav has mentioned Supergirl being like a pillar of their DCU. And one of the things that I suggested was, Supergirl would make a great pillar for something like the cosmic universe. If she's going to be out in space, traveling the stars, her introducing us to somebody like Lobo, and then Lobo introducing us to other further cosmic characters. Like, I personally would still love to see Supergirl introduce us at some point in time to a legion of superheroes, right? She's been a member of that team before in the cosmos or time traveling and things like that. I'm hoping that she's a really great gateway to that world. And if Supergirl is successful, maybe a Jason Momoa Lobo movie might be sort of the next one kind of out of the gate. So we'll see. A lot is definitely writing on it. I don't want to say I'm surprised that Jason Momoa says he's not privy to it. I would assume that he's got some idea. And I only say that because if this is like a pinch me moment for him, if people already associate him as the Lobo character, he's got experience in comic book movies in regards to holding on the secrets, d- you know, not dishing out more content or information about these movies than he certainly needs to. Like I've seen Jason Momoa as one of those people that you can kind of tell him, like, this is kind of the direction we would like to send Lobo in. And because of the fact that you are going to be associated with this character as Lobo, maybe some feedback or at least just an idea of like where we would like to send you. He may not be privy to it, but I think because he mentions things like a movie or there definitely seems to be a road, I think he's got some sense of what that potential road is. He may not necessarily know all the details, right? Like he may be like, we would like to maybe have you in Man of Tomorrow. If Supergirl does well, maybe we'll get you your own film and we'll kind of go from there, sort of thing. So he may be privy to some things, but maybe not all the details are fully fleshed out as of right now. But I do expect him to nail this role and people to love him and want to see more Lobo after this. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to what's some of the things Jason Momoa is certainly talking about today. I'm looking forward to what James Gunn has in store, man. He has been talking about the idea that there are a couple of projects behind the scenes that have not been announced yet that are pretty much like greenlit and kind of ready to go. I am kind of curious as to what they're waiting on in regards to some of these announcements. It is one of those things where, as a production head or a studio head, I got to assume you got to balance out the idea of like keeping people's focus and attention on one thing, and maybe that one thing being Supergirl and Clayface this year. But at one point in time, do you start making like announcements? Like, do you wait for Supergirl to drop and then you make some green light announcements shortly after? Um, Do you make them before? Will that take away too much time from Supergirl for people having to look more excited for things in the future? Or do you keep their focus there? If you announce it after Supergirl, are you undercutting something like Clayface or a Lantern series, right? Like there's a lot of questions that I certainly hope kind of get explored, but I do hope that we eventually get more things that are officially announced and greenlit because I have a feeling we might certainly be surprised. But let me know your guys' anticipation level for the Supergirl movie, along with Jason Momoa as Lobo. I definitely want to know. And from the DCU to the MCU, we're going to change our focus to a divisive MCU film from this multiversal saga. And that's going to be The Eternals, directed by Chloe Zhao, who since then has gone on to win Oscars, be nominated for Oscars, and yet her time with Marvel did not necessarily go fairly well. Now, look, this is not to detract from those that enjoyed this movie. Working in this space for a very long time, Eternals has its defenders. There are several people out there that I know personally that are big fans of this movie. I also know other people on the other side of the spectrum in regards to not necessarily being the biggest fans of this movie. And so I think for some it certainly hit, for others it didn't. I do want to check out the Eternals Rotten Tomato score, just to kind of see where it's sitting at right now because it's been a minute. So critics did not care for it. 47% critics. The audience, for the most part, liked it. 77%. So critics 47%, audience with 77%. So not bad. So I would say some audience members definitely enjoyed the movie, to say the least. But it definitely had its backlash moments for sure. And always finding out how productions on projects come together. Sometimes it's smooth, sometimes it's not, right? Like recently, Nia DaCosta has come out and talked a little bit about what her time was on the Marvels, and you get to see just how, even though they may still love each other and care for each other and really appreciate the time that they had in putting that film together, you can kind of see some of the things behind the scenes that maybe caused that movie to not be as successful as it certainly could have been. And this week, I found some of these words from Chloe Zhao rather interesting as she highlights her time in putting the Eternals movie together. And it did make me scratch my head and think to myself, I wonder why. I wonder if this is why this movie is as divisive as it is. So let's go ahead and talk about this. This comes to us from comingsoon.net. The Eternals movie was not a high priority, says Chloe Zhao. It's crazy, the idea of making a movie that's not high priority, don't you think? Let's talk about this. Eternals director Chloe Zhao has explained why the superhero movie wasn't a high priority for Marvel Studios. Eternals is the 2021 movie directed and co-written by Zhao, the Oscar-winning filmmaker behind other films such as The Rider, Nomadland, and 2025's Hamnet, which I still got to see this movie. Critical and fan reaction to Eternals was mixed, with this being the MCU movie with the lowest Rotten Tomato score since the release of 2023's Ant-Man and the Wasp and Brave New World. Appearing at the Awards Chatter podcast, Chloe Zhao opened up about her experience making the Eternals. She recalled initially being in the running to direct Black Widow. However, she opted out because it didn't feel like the right story for her. Also, it conflicted with Nomadland. I knew Nomadland was the right story for me at that time, and she went on and did Nomadland, and she wound up winning an Oscar for it. So definitely the right story for her. Zoe said that she pitched the idea for Eternals to Marvel the night before she was about to drive to South Dakota to start production on Nomadland. I had to start, in a way, working on a script for the Eternals while shooting on Nomadland. I wasn't very present at the time. That's the beginning of me realizing that juggling two films has its benefits, but also has its problems. So, right here off the rip, we're already talking about a director and a writer who is juggling two projects at once. I had to start in a way working for a script for the Eternals while she's shooting a whole ass movie in Nomadland. I wasn't very present at the time. That's the beginning of me realizing that juggling two films has its benefits, but also has its problems. You know, this jumps out to me immediately, simply because of the fact that I remember Kathleen Kennedy talking about what it takes to make a Star Wars movie. That Lucasfilm has a high demand for its directors and writers and its creatives in the sense of they want you to have to focus the next 3 to 5 years of your career solely on that movie, on that property, because they don't want things like this to certainly happen, right? I don't remember where Chloe Zhao was either in her career. Um, in regards to like how fresh she was in Hollywood, how much experience she had under her belt by that time. But I'm sure the idea of having to juggle two of anything, whether you're starting production, filming, having to get your rewrites in for your scenes, but then also having to switch your mind off and then like focus on new characters and new story elements and have to constantly go back and forth and determine where most of your attention is turned to. So for me right here, if she's immediately talking about not putting her best foot forward, saying that she wasn't present at the time, well, that might explain some things for some people that weren't necessarily big fans of the Eternals movies and some of its weaknesses because of the fact that she herself will admit that she wasn't fully focused. She also explained Eternals was not like high on Marvel's priority list. It's a quite unique IP. It's on their list of potential with Marvel. They very much need to find the right filmmaker before they say that's the IP we're going to go for, at least at that time. So this almost feels like another case where Marvel, in an attempt to acquire somebody's ability or talent, that they're sort of offering them up. Hey, we really want to work with you. What's an IP that you would like to tackle? Even if the MCU and Marvel Studios has no plans for them immediately. And apparently it looks as though Eternals was one of those. And you know what else I think suffers from this? The Blade movie. All right. Like the Blade movie and the Eternals, I think are two perfect examples of people fresh off of Oscar wins or Oscar recognition or being recognized for great work, being scouted by Marvel and saying, "Hey, we want you on board. What do you want to do? You want to do that movie? Cool, right?" Like I think didn't even Mahershala Ali told Kevin Feige he wanted to do Blade, and Marvel Studios has yet to even find a place in where to place Blade at. Yet they managed to give him just a voiceover at the end of the Eternals. Like, so you're already just giving out IP that you have no true plans on doing anything with, and then putting them into projects that you don't even have high profiles for or high priorities to do anything with. Um, so yeah, it seems a little ass backwards when they talk about this stuff. So you're already giving somebody a, hi- a you're already giving somebody an IP and the Eternals that you didn't really have plans to do with anything anyway. But then you bring her on during a time period where not only do you not care about really utilizing the IP, but then now you have somebody that's utilizing the IP that's not even completely present on working the script properly because they're juggling two jobs. So it just seems like errors on both sides. in regards to making me understand a little bit more and more why this movie is as divisive as it is. While when some people watch a movie, they see some one particular type of thing, while the others look at this and see something completely different. Because I do think both parties here, from Chloe Zhao to Marvel Studios, really handle this terribly. Look, I mean, look, I think there is something in the idea of like, hey, if a big creator wants to do something, I do think you should be privy to it. But I do think if you're going to then make a low priority project a high priority project, then I would think that you would take that into account in regards to how you're then addressing it to fit into the bigger world of things. Are you moving things around to fit in this story? Look, they haven't really tackled the Eternals aspect thing too much, with the exception of it possibly popping back up again in Brave New World with Captain America, with the big celestial coming out of the earth and them finding rare materials like adamantium. But that took like what, like 4 or 5 years for them to finally pay off the Eternals movie in some way, shape, or form. The Eternals are still out there in space somewhere. We know the Black Knight got a sword that we haven't even seen him utilize. We heard Blade's voice somewhere. He hasn't materialized anywhere else, with the exception of maybe the Marvel Zombies thing. But that's like a completely different universe at this point, a different multiverse. So it's really just, you know, um just a little eye opening, I think, in regards to how Marvel Studios was certainly doing things at a particular time. Um and I'm hoping that some things have definitely changed for them since then. But it is a little bit discouraging to kind of hear that they really had no intentions of utilizing the Eternals until Chloe Zhao kind of suggested that they did. And even with them greenlighting it, the idea of Chloe Zhao not really focusing solely on creating this world and this character and that script, because of juggling other priorities as well. So it's felt very much like the Eternals ended up being a low priority project for everybody. And the proof of that is certainly in the pudding in regards to how it was certainly received by critics and some audience members as well. So again, look, you might be big fans of the Eternals. I'm not crapping on the Eternals for you. If you love this movie, that's fantastic. Like I hope that you do speak to the high heavens about how great you think this movie is. That's cool with me. Like I'm not gonna yuck on your yum whatsoever. But I do think it is interesting to kind of see how movies are made and the ups and downs of filmmaking and the result that it in turn can have on your movie. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to that. Marcelino says also that wasn't Mahershala Ali that voiced Blade in Marvel Zombies. It was Todd Williamson who also replaced them in the Invincible. In Invincible, yeah, like it wasn't even Mahershala Ali that was in the Marvel Zombies. It was another voice actor sort of thing. So I don't think that Blade movie is ever happening. If I could be honest with you, or if it is, I don't think Mahershala Ali will be um, heavily involved in it. There are rumors that maybe they're ditching the Blade movie and that maybe just put Blade in like a team up movie um, for like Midnight Suns. I've been hearing that long rumored for a really long time. So maybe that's where he'll eventually make his cameo, where he doesn't have to be too reliant and dependent on. Maybe you can introduce his daughter in that movie, and then she can go off and make a new Blade movie. I have no idea, but yeah, just low priority on everybody's list, clearly. And we see what happens when it's low priority and how it gets treated. Do you think they will reboot the Eternals in the next 10 years? Uh 10 years, huh? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we are getting towards Secret Wars. Maybe. Look, I will. I don't. I don't know. Maybe they might treat it like the Inhumans. After the debacle that was the Inhumans on ABC, it seems as though they've been really like really not wanting to bring them up again. So I have a feeling that might be the same thing with the Internals. I have a feeling we'll probably see the Inhumans maybe back before we see the Eternals. I think the Eternals might take themselves a little bit of a break. Maybe the concept of like the Celestials um, might play a role, but maybe not these particular characters. But there's a part of me that thinks maybe after the reboot, the Inhumans might be um, looked at as okay. Maybe it's time to bring them back. So in time, the Eternals probably will get some shine, but within the next 10 years, I don't know. I don't think so. If anything, from there, maybe the Celestials, but that's probably about it. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll have a maybe they'll pop up in Secret Wars somewhere and be utilized in some way, shape, or form. Like if I'm being honest with you, I think this is a perfect opportunity to bring in Kit Harington as the Black Knight. If we're I mean if we're talking from like a Secret Wars perspective, the if they do go the route of like the Jonathan Hickman battle world and putting it kind of, I don't want to say it gave off like the medieval time sort of periods, or at least certain sections of battle world certainly did. Him coming back as like a full-fledged like Black Knight, like on a horse with a Black Knight like comic accurate costume or something like that, with the shield and the sword and the helmet, I would be completely down for that. So maybe Kit Harington as Black Knight can pop up somewhere randomly in Secret Wars and be rebooted into the new MCU. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, guys. With that out of the way, let's transition over to more movies and television for you guys. As the Saw franchise is back in the news. 2025 was a really turbulent year for the Saw franchise. They had initially set out to do a Saw 11, if I'm not mistaken. We had gotten ourselves like a teaser poster for it, or teaser promo poster for it. We had known that they were behind the scenes writing the script for it. But then they had some issues from within their production, and things wind up changing to the point to where the franchise, I believe, was sold to another company, and sold, I want to say, back to Blumhouse, and now once again in the hands of James Wan. So 2025 was crazy for the Saw franchise, now back under new or revisiting ownership, as James Wan is set to go ahead and take the lead on bringing Saw back to its rightful place among the top of the horror franchise. So this week, James Wan has been in the news as he's addressing his return to the franchise that he once started. So let's go ahead and dive into this, shall we? This is coming to us from bleedingcool.com. James Wan on return to franchise. Let's make it scary again. Saws with Blumhouse Atomic Monster now, and James Wan is talking about where the franchise may go from here in interviews. So let's see what he's saying. A new interview with Letterboxd sheds some light on what to expect with James Wan coming back creatively. He says, make sure I got this right. Okay, there we go. He says, for me to finally come back to it, I feel like I probably have the freshest outlook. I feel I can come back to it with a new perspective, whilst knowing that with this next movie, I want to hark back to the spirit of the first movie. One of the things I really want to do with this next Saw is make it scary again. I want to make a scary Saw, not just gory, but psychologically scarring, like what Leah and I did in the first movie. We both want to recapture the spirit of that first film and revisit Jigsaw's philosophy, which is that he goes after people who don't appreciate their lives. If you're a scumbag, but you appreciate your life, he doesn't see you as someone who's wasting your life. So I want to go back to what we touched on in the first movie in regards to that. He also says, at the same time, I want to honor what people have come to love about the franchise while trying to do something fresh and new that we haven't seen before. This next movie would be the 11th installment in there have been lots of films in this world. We need to do something different in order to reach out to a new generation that didn't grow up with it. The article does go on to say, I don't really think Saw needs to be all that different to stand out or to be good. The thing that stands out most about the first film is the production design, which is grimy and gross more than scary. It feels more like a detective film as well. So maybe that's the direction they could take. But at this point, fans come for the traps and Jigsaw. Messing with that could be a mistake, is the article's own opinion. But it does feel very much as though James Wan is ready to go back to the spirit of the first film, make the franchise scary again. Make Saw scary again. Can we get a red hat for that one? Um, but yeah, we got James Wan returning to the franchise. And look, I'm kind of excited for this. I have not really kept up with the Saw franchise after like the third entry, I believe. After the third entry, I kind of fell off because I felt like they started kind of doing things all the same. Where I might have tried to check out the fourth one. I can't remember right now. I feel like I might have tried to check out the fourth one, but I think maybe by that time I'm just like, okay, this is just kind of same old, same old. But none of them really hit for me like the first one did. I think for me, I don't know if I had ever seen. I get what the interviewer saying or the article saying here in the sense of while it was scary, I think the scary aspect comes from the griminess, the grittiness of it, the detective aspect of it, but also the gore and the traps. I'd never seen anything like it. But I think also what put the movie over the top for me too was just the revelation at the end. I don't I for me, it's still one of the best revelations in comic book and not comic book, just like in movie cinema. You put up there the reveal for the usual suspects, I think. And then next might be the Saw reveal at the end of that movie. Uh, but to see that kind of incorporated into this like gory horror film, I thought was really brilliant at the time. And James Wan was capable of giving us a new type of horror, and really, I think bringing in um, a new group of movies because I think Saw, we could probably thank Saw for films like Hostel, in regards to like really pushing the envelope in regards to horrible deaths and just the gore factor that you see. So I definitely think it helped revitalize a segment of the horror genre for sure. And to be able to put in some compelling storytelling with some twists at the end, I think also helped elevate Saw for what it was. So I think the first Saw is probably out of all the ones that I've seen, it's still certainly my favorite. So to kind of have James Wan want to come back and take the spirit of that, I think is absolutely brilliant. I'm completely on board with that. But I do also understand the concept of wanting to do something new for the generation. Um, it doesn't sound like he's going to depart too far away from the formula that has certainly worked. I think he seemingly has a fascination with Jigsaw's plans and just his mindset towards life in general. And I think if you can continue along with that, I think that's like the solid factor of what makes Saw, along with the cool traps and stuff. But how do you present that in a different format will be an interesting one. Do you dive further into the detective aspect of things? How many twists and turns can you come up with? Like the idea of trying to make it fresh for a new generation will be interesting. We are in just like a completely different new generation of kids in regards to Gen Z. Maybe there's some elements in regards to filmmaking and television, or like the attention spans or the mindset of a younger generation that you can kind of tap into, and have those play a role in this particular movie. You know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see what James Wan kind of taps into, but I do think Saw is certainly in good hands. And again, this is coming also from a guy who literally just did he also ushered in the the Conjuring movies too, if I'm not mistaken. And he's managed to build up a whole Conjuring universe. Now, it's been a minute since he's actually like directed any of those, but the potential of what James Wan is capable of in regards to taking a movie franchise. I mean, he literally started a movie franchise and saw that had 10 movies that came out of it. And now he's over on the Conjuring universe that is countless Conjuring films, let alone the spin-offs. So the idea of James Wan going back into Saw, I think, is a really great revitalization of that franchise, as crazy as it is to say after 10 movies, to be able to revitalize it, because who knows what he can now create this world into that he wasn't able to do all those years ago. Now that he's got further experience under his belt with like The Conjuring, maybe we get like 5 more Saw movies out of this. Um maybe these Saw movies bring us brand new. Hold on, where'd I go? Am I there? What happened to my camera? Can y'all see me? Huh? Did my camera just drop? Okay, let me see something here. I'm trying to see if I can change my camera. Give me one moment. Nope. Hmm. There we go. I wonder what happened. My whole screen just blacked out on me. Let me go ahead and bring up that article one more time. But yeah, I was just simply saying, who knows what the potential for this Saw franchise can now kind of turn into. Maybe we get spin-offs out of this brand new Saw universe that he's going to be kind of creating and building upon. But I do think that this is a great win for James Wan, along with just his franchise in general. But let me know your thoughts. How do you personally feel about the return of James Wan to Saw? If you had to reinvent or revitalize the Saw franchise, like what would you guys do differently, or how would you certainly approach it, especially after sort of 10 films in? This is where I wish I had Stuart here to talk a little bit more about with his experience with Saw. Because yeah, after the third one, I think I attempted to watch the fourth one. I don't know if I ever. It's been so long since I've watched these Saw movies. I kind of wanted to see that Chris Rock Saw movie that had come out. I can't remember the name of it, but I definitely missed it in theaters. But it was on my radar just because of it being Chris Rock, and it seemed significantly different from the other Saw movies. But who knows? So the Book of Jigsaw or the Book of, I can't remember what it was now. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in regards to James Wan returning to the Saw franchise. And last but not least, guys, our last story of the day before we get to your guys' live viewer questions. It's been a minute, but The Last of Us season 3 is set to begin production relatively soon. After the reception of The Last of Us season 2, it is interesting that the showrunner that was attached to it, we had Craig Mazin along with the creator of the Last of Us video game, Neil Druckmann. They were working side by side to go ahead and give us not only season 1 but also season 2. And after season 2 wind up releasing to a lower than average reception amongst people, we wind up having Neil Druckmann walk away from the franchise. Um, Critically, seasons 1 and season 2 did great among critics. But looking at season 2 for the audience score, 37%. 37% on Rotten Tomatoes for season 2. People were not happy with it whatsoever. Um, And now with Neil Druckmann certainly leaving for season 3, it really does put up in the air, what is season 3 even going to look like? Um, they are getting ready to go ahead and get into production. And this week, one of the stars of The Last of Us season 2, Caitlin Dever, who plays, I believe, Abby, is getting ready to return. Let's hear what she certainly had to say about this. So this comes to us from Deadline.com. The Last of Us star Caitlin Dever says she's looking forward to going back in time to tell Abby's POV as season 3 production nears. Let's see here. It says the actress revealed to Deadline on Monday that she's preparing to head back into production to film the 3rd installment, confirming a bit more about what to expect from the continuation of the adaptation from The Last of Us Part 2. She goes on to say, I'm getting mentally and physically prepped right now. I go up in a couple of days actually to start prep over there. I'm so excited to kind of take on a much bigger role this season. Let me see. When does The Last of Us season 3 begin production? Oops. I want to see when filming begins. Let's see if Google knows. It just says it's scheduled for early 2026, with filming expected to start around March or April. So yeah, so March or April, so maybe about a month or two away. And she's talking about getting mentally and physically prepped right now. I go up in a couple of days actually to start prep over there. I'm excited to kind of take on a much bigger role this season. Chatting with Deadline, Dever added the fans are really going to like it, I think. The shifting perspective onto Abby, getting some more context onto her storyline, and going back in time with this season. So I'm very excited for fans to see it. Last of Us underwent a bit of a creative shakeup ahead of the 3rd season as Neil Druckmann, who co-created and directed the video games, was very hands-on throughout the first 2 seasons, took a step back from the series. He is not writing or directing any episodes this season, but will continue to serve as a co-creator and executive producer. Executive producer and writer Haley Gross, who co-wrote The Last of Us Part 2, also exited her day-to-day duties on this series. HBO has not said whether the 3rd season will be the last. I this just feels weird to me. I don't know about you guys, but is there like a this feels like there's like a shadow hanging over this series, or is it just me right now? After like I will be honest, there are some really great moments I think in the early parts of season 2, but as season 2 kind of progresses, it does kind of fall by the wayside a little bit. At least for me, when it comes to the cliffhanger and the ending of season 2, I didn't necessarily find the strongest. I'm still a fan of all the characters, but I didn't find it the strongest. I am curious if anything. First of all, shout out to Dever for her role as Abby. There were definitely moments in here from an emotional standpoint that I thought she did really well. Um, I am curious to learn more about Abby in season 3. Now, again, this is coming from somebody who has not played the Last of Us video games. I am simply an outsider kind of looking in when it comes to my only connection to this universe is the television series itself. So how they tell their story is really important to me. And I'm always fascinated to learn over time the differences from the video game to the television series and getting people's perspective on those that have played the video game and what they also think about the series itself. I know that part 2 of the video game is a very long story to certainly be told. I am curious as to what the storytelling structure was like in the video game if they took this similar route in the sense of season 2 um being one person's story and season 3 being somebody else's story but from different perspectives. I'm curious if the video game did that too. Like, did you play it through one person's perspective and then at some point in time in the game it stops and then you go back and play the same things over but through somebody else's eyes and then like meet up their stories at the end. I am kind of curious as to how that has kind of come together. Because from a structure point of view, um television wise, I am curious how that will work. Um I think the good thing here for Abby is there is a big time frame in season 2 where we really don't see Abby, right? Like there's she pops in from time to time in the series, but time has certainly progressed since we've last seen her. So there are chunks of adventure and emotional struggle and whatever she has to overcome um that we see her in. Like the idea of where was Abby from the time they discover the dead bodies in, was it Seattle, to the point to where we see her pop up near the encampment in season 2. Like I need story filled in there, and then I need story filled in from the time that they kill Joel to um where we see her at the finale of season 3. Like, so I will be kind of curious to kind of see the different perspective and point of view, but I do think season 3 has an uphill battle to climb in the sense of, and I feel like there's going to be a lot more fresh faces in season 3, people that we've seen clearly in season 2, but we don't really have that emotional connection to them like we did the main characters in season 1. So I do think season 3 maybe has an uphill battle of trying to get your general audience members to be comfortable enough and hopefully have characters that they like or drawn to or hate so much that they continue to come back on a weekly basis to kind of see how this story kind of unfolds. When the part of you is probably like, I want Pedro Pascal back as Joel. Can I get a cameo of this man somewhere? Like, if we don't get those sort of things or those particular beats in time outside of name drops, will the general audience and the people be as committed to watching the show on a regular basis um as they normally would without the familiar faces or or the faces that we're used to, if that makes sense, right? And then I don't know if Abby's character um had enough screen time for people to care certainly enough about her. I mean, with the exception of like the revelation of realizing like how they perceive Joel based off of what Joel has certainly done, looking at Joel very much in the sense in the lens of being a villain that has come in and kind of killed their people. So, there is an emotional journey for Abby. I'm curious to kind of see her go on instead of just being how we should have viewed her through the eyes of Joel and the others. Um, but yeah, this definitely has and I think also too, what fascinates me is the idea of Neil Druckmann not being around. Did he depart because of the pushback of season 2? Did he know that things weren't going that well? Like, I am curious if him and Craig Mazin have had difficulties together behind the scenes. Like season 1 might have gone off without a hitch, but I am kind of curious if Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann just had two different ways in which they wanted to tell part 2 story in season 2 and 3, and maybe they just didn't necessarily see it kind of eye to eye and how that story should be formulated. I don't think it's easy to adapt the part 2 into a season 2 and season 3, let alone. So I'm sure they definitely had their work cut out for them. But I do wonder if they maybe saw the writing on the wall for this show, because Neil Druckmann seemed like he was out in a heartbeat. So I do wonder what the relationship behind the scenes between Craig Mazin, who did a phenomenal job in Chernobyl for a limited series for HBO Max, and him teaming up with Neil Druckmann. I do wonder if that relationship got a little bit more rocky or shaky as production for season 2 and planning out season 3 went along. Because from what I've seen from Craig Mazin, he's more than capable of show running and writing a show. But when you have like the creator of the video game there, somebody that who's not show run a show or not necessarily written for television, which is why you have a Craig Mazin attached to it, I do wonder if the video games creator's vision um, didn't necessarily line up with a television creator's vision for how you bring what they want to kind of bring to life. Like I would be more fascinated to go down this rabbit hole and find out like why Neil Druckmann really did leave, because it does put into jeopardy now. Season 3 for me, uh, where do you go from here, right? Like I've heard even Craig Mazin talk about the idea that after season 3, he himself may certainly want to depart. I don't know if those things were said um, to maybe call Neil Druckmann's bluff, and Neil Druckmann's like, "Nah, I'll be the one to leave." So I don't know if Craig Mazin even plans on staying past a season 3 if a season 3 is received well, or if he's gonna duck out also. Like, where do you go from here? Like, if the video game creator is not attached to this, how do you even write a season 4? Like, how do you even wrap up the show correctly if you don't necessarily even know like how the finale for Last of Us part 3 was even supposed to go, right? Like, are we even gonna get a part 3 from Neil Druckmann? Is that something that he's working on? Has he got other projects that he wants to work on? Is this a case of he departed because he didn't want HBO to pull a Game of Thrones and finish his story for him? And allow him to back out and be able to tell the story that he wants to tell for this franchise in the form of a video game and finally wrap it up. I really have no idea, but it just seems like with Drunkman leaving, Craig Mazin being on board, the anticipation level, I think, for a season 3 of The Last of Us, maybe not as high as the previous seasons. It feels like this series is very much in the sense of limbo, and that season 3 has a lot of not only heavy lifting to do in regards to not only telling a coherent story that makes sense, but also one that it needs to draw audience members back in to show them that, hey, we can still be compelling storytelling and give them a nice sort of ramp into a season 4 potentially. And where do you even go from there? So, I'm sure people had their issues with Abby or how she was certainly portrayed in the video games. Um, but we'll see if they make any significant changes. I hear people talk all the time about Abby in the video game is like a little bit more muscular and a little bigger. Maybe Caitlin Dever, heading out to uh heading out to where they're going to begin production like 2 months in advance, a month or two in advance. Maybe she's hitting that gym. Maybe she's on that strict diet right now. Who certainly knows? I got no idea what they got in mind for Caitlin Devers as Abby, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's successful. Good luck to them. It just feels like there's a cloud hanging over them right now. You know what I mean? We got Crystal in the house. What's up, Crystal? Appreciate you coming through. I'm hoping this is my last week of rolling solo dolo. I'm hoping I got Stuart back next week, or I've got somebody else back next week for sure. But it's good to see you, Crystal. I appreciate you certainly coming through. Hope business is certainly going well. I'm excited to review Maul, the Shadow Lord with you come April, baby. That's right. April, the return of the High Council for our Star Wars podcast. Trying to create some logos and things like that for us come April, kicking off some Star Wars talk. But Crystal, you're always welcome here. Always welcome here, Crystal. Marcelino, going back to the Last of Us, I wish they gave Abby muscles like in the game. In the game, it was non-linear. At first, you played Ellie until the confrontation where you played Abby and see her backstory. Okay, so it's kind of set up like that a little bit then. That last scene of Pedro Pascal where Ellie tried to forgive him doesn't happen until the very end of the game, and it's placed there for a reason. Feels off that they included it. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm always fascinated with like first off the adaptation to anything, whether it be a book or a video game or whatever the case may be. I am always kind of curious how, again, if I somebody that hasn't played part two, but it seems like part two has a lot of moving pieces. How do you coherently take that story from the video game and be able to make it into a television series? Um, we talk all the time sometimes about like trying to create a story and having to figure out, is this right for a movie? Is this right for television? Right? Because it's written so vastly differently. And to be able to execute something that you did in a video game and to execute it properly in the form of telling the story for television, I gotta think that that's an incredible mountain to have to climb and figure out, like, from a pacing point of view. And it's not like we binge this show, so you get the benefit of like building some level of anticipation at the end of each episode towards the next. Like the idea of constructing part two into two seasons, I feel like is a headache in and of itself. Maybe Neil Druckmann was just wore out. Marcelo says you don't know Abby's story until you play as her, and they don't reference it in the beginning. It's an example of the show don't tell. Yeah, totally get that. When Last of Us came out, it was met with controversy and a lot. It was toxic, especially with Abby. So the season two feels like they caved into the toxicity and not because to better serve the story. I get what you mean. Um, I don't exaggerate when I say Abby has biceps like Vin Diesel. Well, Caitlin Dever, you better get into that gym, girl. All right. I need you to hit that gym, and I need your first line in season 3 of The Last of Us to be family. You know what I'm saying? Like I need you to I need you to get in your Vin Diesel bag right now. Get those protein shakes, whatever you need to do, and you put on some muscle, girl. The fans demand it. But yeah, let me know let me know your guys' thoughts in regards to what you expect from season 3 and wait, where even is your level of anticipation for a season 3? Do you even have one right now? Is there even a pulse for a season 3? Do the people even want a season 3? I need to know. Let me know your guys' thoughts. All right. And with that out of the way, guys, I think you know what time it is.
Now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer questions portion of the show. This is where we take your questions. And for those of you who do not know, every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, I will go ahead and drop a post for you guys over on our YouTube channel. Again, that's Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. I usually drop these. Just go over to our YouTube channel as you see here. Click on this post tab. Although they actually have a new community tab too. What's this visit community tab? What's that? Oh, it kind of takes us there too. So I guess they posted both places. So you can actually find us on the community tab or the post tab, as you see right here. And voila, 14 hours ago, we posted a live viewer question post. Let me sort this out for you guys, and then we'll tackle some of you guys' questions. All right, AJ, the Morphing Grid. Once and always, the Rangers and their vehicles. In the 30th anniversary special, Min Kwan navigates Billy Cranston's executive parking lot, which features a green 2021 Lotus Elise, a dark Toyota Tundra, a black Harley Davidson, and Billy's upgraded Radbug 2. Fans quickly link these specific rides to captured teammates, suggesting the motorcycle pays homage to Jason Lee Scott's Forever Red entrance. The truck mirrors Tommy Oliver's Dino Thunder history with rugged off-roaders. And a sleek green Lotus serves as a nod to Kimberly Hart and Tommy's being the show's first relationship and his Green Ranger legacy. Meanwhile, the appearance of Zach Taylor's BMW at the Kwan residence highlights his new role as Min's guardian, further cementing the idea that every vehicle on screen carries the weight of a Ranger's history. Do you believe these specific vehicle choices were intended as symbolic stand-ins for the three original Rangers who couldn't appear on screen? Oh, I think you showed me a image of that before. I never really considered that, but I think there's probably some truth to it. Whether or not it's those particular Rangers in general, that I don't know, but I can see that as a possibility. Was anybody else over at their house at the time with all those cars parked? But yeah, interesting. We got Peg C here. What are your thoughts on the passing of Catherine O'Hara at the age of 71? What are some of your favorite Catherine movies? Let me go ahead and pull up a list because I'm sure there's probably. Let me see. Catherine O'Hara, all Catherine O'Hara movies ranked by Rotten Tomato. Okay, let's see. I'm sure there's a bunch of them in here that I haven't had. Who does she play in? Who does she play in? The Wild Robot. I haven't seen Schitt's Creek, but I hear a lot of people know her from Schitt's Creek, but I haven't had the opportunity to watch Schitt's Creek. The Wild Robot, I guess she voiced in there too. I didn't realize that. She also did a voiceover in Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. What? She was great, I thought, in The Last of Us season 2. I didn't even know she was in season 1 of the studio. Man, now I got to check out the studio even more. I don't know if I've seen her in After Hours. Beetlejuice is up there. Both Beetlejuice's movies. Oh, she was in Elemental? I don't remember her being in Elemental. Where the Wild Things Are. Home Alone, obviously. She was in Dick Tracy? No way she was in Dick Tracy. Yeah, I did love her from Home Alone. I mean, she's always going to be for me memorized through Beetlejuice and Home Alone for sure. I never seen Best of Show, but I'm fully aware of Best of Show, but I've never seen it. Maybe I'll have to check that out. And I definitely need to check out the studio for sure. But she was really good in The Last of Us. I'm kind of bummed that she's man, that sucks. That sucks for the passing. But she's a legend in and of herself. Rest in peace for sure. Do you plan on checking out the crossover movie with Gojuger and Boom Boomger when it comes out? Maybe. Let me know when it drops. When it drops, I'll check it out. If somebody reminds me, I will try and check it out. I'm not too familiar with both of those series, with the exception of maybe like the first quarter of Boom Boomger, but after that, I don't really remember too much. Fast and the Furious 11 has a title called Fast Forever and a March 2028 release. Yes, finally. Like, let's just knock this movie out, y'all. Like, let's just get this over with. Fast Forever is a great title. I personally think so. I'm fully on board with the title. Release date sounds about right. Yeah, let's do it. Let's knock this one out of the park. And don't tell me we're gonna split this up into 2 movies. We got more movies after. No, stop it, please. Because I think the return on investment continues to lower at the box office after each installment. Like, the fan base is privy to what you're doing at this point. So make one last bombastic Fast Forever movie, and let's call it a day. Marky Parko. By erasing Peter Parker from the world's memory, No Way Home effectively severed his reliance on the MCU's broader narrative and finally retired the Iron Man Jr. persona. This isolation leaves him more solitary than any previous cinematic Spider-Man, forcing him to rebuild his life from scratch while maintaining his heroic mantle. is a brilliant soft reboot that returns the characters to his grounded, independent roots. Do you think Peter's newfound anonymity, anonymity will make him more effective hero, or does the loss of his supportive system make him too vulnerable? Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think maybe you can make them both. I think more effective. One, I do think it'll make him a more effective hero. Whereas I think I think that's what his life is now fully kind of devoted to. Like, I feel like, it's interesting. Like, I feel like we're gonna get Spider-Man facing off against several different villains in here. Each villain may just be used sparingly, but I think there might be like some C or D level Spider-Man villain cameos that we might see in here as we get to see just what Peter Parker has been up to this entire time. I think he's fully embraced the Spider-Man role, that he has um fully thrown himself more into work than an actual personal life for himself. So I think he takes being a hero much more serious. And I would personally like to see him, a short montage of him facing some of his C or D level villains, whether that be Boomerang or a new Shocker or Hammerhead or something like that. In regards to, like, Spider-Man's been putting in the work, of beating up these villains, protecting his neighborhood, fully invested in this role. So, like, the idea of a lot of rumored villains being in this movie, I don't necessarily think that they're there to hamper down the movie. Like, oh my god, there's so many characters in the movie. I almost think that these are going to be really quick one-offs, just to show like brief moments of them getting their ass kicked by by Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's been so much more effective as a hero, because that's really where his focus has been. But to make him more vulnerable, does the loss of his support system make him too vulnerable? I think that's probably maybe also a point to it, maybe vulnerable from the standpoint of like trying to find that balance of still being Peter Parker, or I want to say finding some friends, but being able to not lose yourself in the mask too much, if that makes sense, right? I wonder if that's going to be the route that he goes. That instead of putting all of your life and focus into being a hero, you also got to remember time for yourself and establishing those friends or new friends in your life, so that, like I said, you don't lose yourself behind the mask and become cynical or whatever the case may be, that you find that balance again. So I think that might be some of the things that Peter has to deal with in this movie. So I think it might be a little bit of both. Marcelino, there's always criticism of certain characters being wasted, that they could have been more. However, when there's the opposite happen, basically what I'm saying is, was there ever a time you were in the minority of where you thought the character wasn't wasted and you fundamentally disagreed with the majority of people who say they were wasted? I might need some examples. People having criticism of characters being wasted, but I don't think was wasted. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know how people feel about Captain Carter. Maybe some people felt Captain Carter was wasted or not needed. But I think she solidified herself as very much needed and not necessarily wasted. I think they have really you. I think there's even more to be utilized out of Captain Carter if they ever wanted to go that route, but I don't think that they ever will. Um, yeah, that might be the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know if wasted is the right word for Captain Carter, but I don't think that she was wasted. And in fact, I do think there's even more opportunity to build upon for her. I'm trying to think off the top of my head any other characters that I remember people saying wasted. If you have any examples, please put them in the comments, and I'll bounce some ideas off of that. But yeah, Captain Carter for some reason is like the first person that comes to mind for me. Other characters that being wasted that I don't think was wasted. Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. Also, since I read the original Static run by Milestone, um, let me tell you some stories that stood out. First thing to note is that it's completely episodic, so none of the stories bleed into each other. Interesting. The one that put the most to me is the Louder Than a Bomb arc. Um, where black supremacist who has the ability to turn anything to a bomb attacks peaceful rallies that support diversity and inclusion because he firmly believes in segregation between black people and white people. His name is Commando X, and he's partially inspired by Malcolm X. There's an arc where Static takes a job offer from the mobster Holocaust in order to make money, especially after he feels his friends have backstabbed him. There's an arc where Static finds a metahuman shoplifter who has the ability to multiply himself thousands of mini versions of himself. There's an arc where a mental based metahuman is being blackmailed to be the mafia's hitman because they have his father hostage. The first issue opens with Static fighting a bunch of teenage racists. There's one arc where he takes the girl he likes on an accidental date where she helps him fight some gang members. Cool. That first one really fascinates me. The Commando X, louder than the um louder than a bomb arc sounds really incredible to me. Just because I do know that there are some people that argue over the idea of just segregation in general, whether or not segregation was a good idea for some people. Um, I've always heard that argument. So I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind reading it to kind of see the perspectives that both sides kind of give in that article, in that arc. But and also that Static takes a job offer from the mobster. Interesting. Thank you for bringing some of this our attention. I believe you bring that up at an interesting time too, talking about Milestone, because I do believe um they are reintegrating Milestone into DC Comics here. I think the newest issue of the DC history of the DC universe, like their new full-fledged history, has included the inclusion of Milestone in some capacity or another. Um, so worth a read for some of the recent DC comic book stuff. Um, my friends call me Joseph. What do you think about the behind the scenes footage of Jaganji suggesting that the avatars will be integrated the real world to meet their teenage players? Oh, Jumanji. I think you're talking about Jumanji. What do you think about the behind the scenes footage of Jumanji suggesting that the avatars will be integrated the real world to meet their teenage players? This potential crossover would allow the iconic adult cast to interact directly with the younger actors for the first time in the franchise. I kind of dig it. I like the sound of that, actually. Alex Ramirez. While we've mastered the art of AI and complex algorithms, we still haven't replicated the instant food magic scene and the dehydrated Pizza Hut pie in Back to the Future Part 2 or the hydrated McDonald's cheeseburgers from Spy Kids. It seems we've managed to teach computers how to think, yet we're still waiting on a kitchen appliance that can expand a pocket-sized packet into a full-course meal. I was also thinking about, we're also in the realm of like 3D digital printing. And it also made me think the other thing, you bringing up the idea of like Insta food, the magic of, the dehydrated stuff expanding. It also made me think of like Star Trek replicators, that you say what you want and then the computer literally replicates it and like makes it for you from scratch. Um, we've got 3D printers that can do that for objects. I wonder if is there a way we can do that with like food, but like make it edible? That would be kind of like one step towards Star Trek replicators, right? Um, I was also thinking of other things too the other day in regards to translators. Are we, and somebody knows more about translators than I do. I mean, I get the idea of recording something and then playing it for somebody so they hear the translation. Do we have a gadget where like it's a microphone with a speaker or something, like where as we talk live, maybe like a 1 or 2 second delay, but as we say a sentence in English, it then gets translated in a different language, like through the speaker, like immediately, like within seconds, or maybe like a 1 or 2 second delay. But I was kind of curious about that. Like, can I wear a like it's like a microphone, but also has like a digital screen that comes across your mouth, and as you say your words in English, it then immediately translates it into text that goes across the digital visor, and then also comes out the speaker in the language that you need it translated into instantly. Are we there yet? Are we, even if it's just like a 1 or 2 second delay? I'm curious if we're there. Maybe we've hit this technology like 5 years ago and I'm unaware of it. But somebody let me know. Like where I can hear and speak in real time my language, but then it gets translated immediately into something else for other people to hear. Maybe I'm behind in the times. I am 43 after all. I think this is like the time period of my life where technology starts to like lap me a couple times. Let's see here. Alan, what's up, Alan? Appreciate you coming through. What character from the Sony Marvel universe, both hero and villain, do you want to have a do-over in the MCU as either a standalone origin film or a multiverse extravaganza? Um, man, for some reason, the first thing that comes to my mind is Ben Riley. Um, I don't know if it necessarily a standalone origin film or a it'd probably be like a multiverse extravaganza. I don't know why. Even though I know that the Clone Saga was probably crapped on during the 90s, it was a saga that I loved. I picked up like almost every Spider-Man run, whether that be Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, Web of Spider-Man. Like if they had a Clone Wars saga that interlocked all these issues, I was collecting it all. I am just a big fan of Ben Riley and just the clones in general, whether that be Kane as well. I think there's a multiverse story or some sort of like big clone saga story that you could definitely tell. So like for me, Ben Riley's one of those that comes off as, I don't think it's had the opportunity to be told yet in Sony Marvel Universe, but I do think you can have fun with it, maybe multiversal wise. I also would not mind Carnage, whether that be in a solo film or a do-over. And maybe even Craven. More like in the a do-over in the MCU. Craven and maybe Carnage along with Venom would be the ones that I would like to see kind of get a little bit of a do-over. Cars are my hobby. Okay, Cars. The sequel to Fast Forever is set to conclude the oversaturated saga March 17th of 2028. And while rumors suggest a return for Brian O'Connor via flashback, it is worth noting that his brother Caleb and Cody previously served as stand-ins in the finishes scenes in Fast 7. What high octane conclusions are you hoping to see in this final installment? And how do you feel about the potential for Brian to appear one last time before, without ruining the perfect send off for the seventh film? So I don't really know what conclusion I really want, honestly. In the final installment, just because of the fact that I have fallen off of this franchise after maybe the seventh film, to be honest with you. I know they're going to go big and bombastic, but there is a part of me that I would not mind them just going back to their roots if they can. You know, if you can make a compelling story that somehow still involves mostly street racing, instead of it being the opposite, big espionage kind of action thriller with a little bit of racing. Even if like the final act of the movie gets a little bit more grounded in like the final, like a final street race of all street races, like even if it's something like that, I think would be really cool. So I think if you can kind of go back to what made the first film great, I mean, granted, still put in your villains and your action piece. That's cool and all, but I would love street racing to still be a big part of the final movie. So I don't have like conclusions for characters or anything like that, but I hope that they end it off on a legit and very important street race that has a lot of stakes attached to it. As far as the potential for Brian to appear one last time, I don't. Do I think it's needed? I mean, I get why they would want to do it. I get why they would want to do it because of if it is the final installment, he's such a a pivotal character to the franchise. But it's like, how much do you show? How much don't you? If they didn't, I would be perfectly okay with it, honestly. If they didn't, I would be fine. I would sleep just fine because I think the perfect send off was the seventh film. But if they wanted to do something, I would be okay with it, just not overboard. Um, I can understand why they would want to, just not something overboard. Jessica Fryman, do you think it's time for Sony or Marvel to make a Spider Woman or Spider Gwen movie? And when do you think we'll get a word about the sixth season of Harley Quinn? I don't know. I think the fifth season of Harley Quinn, I think just got released, didn't it? Let me see. Yeah, so season 5 oh, was about a year ago, huh? Season 5 was early 2025. Let's see here. Yeah, as of early 2026, Harley Quinn season 6 has not been officially confirmed or greenlit by DC. Those showrunners have indicated active and positive discussions about continuing. Following the season 5 finale, they're excited to explore a very different and unexpected direction for this show. So yeah, no word yet. No word. I don't even think it's been greenlit yet. So it could be the last. We'll see. It's really going to be dependent on what James Gunn wants to do with Harley. But if it continues to be a well received show, I don't see why you should stop it. Honestly, um, do I think Sony or Marvel will take a Spider? I thought a Spider Gwen movie was in the works, um, in like animation form, like a spinoff. I thought we had heard something about it. Yeah, back in 2024, so this is going on 2 years. Um, Early stages of developing a live action Spider-Gwen movie. I think a lot of things are really on hold for them right now, because they're focused really much more on Brand New Day with Marvel. They haven't really announced anything, especially after the debacle that was the Craven the Hunter movie. So I don't expect them to be raring to go. I think if they're planning on doing anything, maybe it's going to be in the form of animation or live action. So a Spider Gwen animation or live action series, I can see happening before a movie. Was there any other Spider-Gwen news outside of that? Yeah, that might be like the last news that we got was back in 2024. There's a Spider-Punk animated movie in the works. But yeah, it looks like that was the last Spider anything announced. So I don't know, but I think a Spider-Gwen would be great. I would still be open for a Spider-Woman. Um it's just going to be it's just one of those things I would really prefer either the MCU to tackle for Spider-Woman, or if we're going to do a Spider-Gwen, I really want Lord and Miller attached to that in some capacity. So I'm hoping it's more of a animation or a TV series. And last but not least, from Nathaniel. What's up, Nathaniel? Am I the only one who realized that Mermaid Man from SpongeBob is clearly a parody of Aquaman? Oh yeah. Right down to the orange and green suit and his retired superhero aesthetics. You know, it's funny. Here at the Dallas convention I go to every year, Fan Expo Dallas, there is always a guy there every year dressed up as Mermaid Man. He's been rocking the same costume at least for like 10 years. But my man shows up every year as Mermaid Man. Since the SpongeBob universe even features a vintage TV show highlighting its younger days with Barnacle Boy, this is confirmed he was meant to mirror the silver age of comics. Would you like me to find more hidden parodies in Bikini Bottom, or perhaps generate an image of what a modern day mermaid man might look like? Yeah, actually, feel free to. If you want to generate an image of a modern day mermaid man, go for it. Yeah, if you have any other hidden parodies, let me know. It's just so funny you bring up SpongeBob. Like I'm in my boy is in a SpongeBob phase right now. He's 4 years old and he's watching SpongeBob. It might be a detriment to his mental health. I have no idea. I have no idea. But he loves some SpongeBob. He got a big SpongeBob doll, like a stuffed SpongeBob, for his 4th birthday, and it doesn't leave his side now. He almost watches SpongeBob almost daily. It feels like. Um, so SpongeBob has been very active in this household. But even though I've yet to sit down and actually watch like episodes, it was more, I think, my girlfriend's thing growing up as a kid than it was me. But I'm very aware of Mermaid Man because yeah, I've seen him countless times on the on in the series and in real life at my conventions. He's there every year. I'm just gonna refresh this page, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, I think I got everybody's questions for the most part. But yeah, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions segment of the show. So thank you everybody who certainly participated in dropping off those um those questions, and we'll definitely be back next week for you guys also. What did we drop on the channel here this past week? Let me see. What did we do? If you guys have missed some of our content from this past week, I did do a Daredevil season 2 teaser trailer review for you guys. Check that out if you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. I also went ahead and dropped my review for, or my quick thoughts, I should say, on Star Trek Starfleet Academy episodes 1 through 3. I have been really impressed with the first 3 episodes, so I needed to go ahead and talk about it a little bit. So I did give my fair thoughts, my fair share of thoughts on that. I probably am not going to be doing Starfleet Academy reviews on a weekly basis for you guys unless something really jumps out at me. Even though episode 4 this week I actually found rather compelling. I probably will want to go ahead and revisit it. But yeah, so this past week I dropped the Starfleet Academy review and my review for Daredevil Born Again season 2. We also do have a video from last week, I believe, on some new plot summary details for Voltron, the live action movie. Talked a little bit about that on the channel too right now. That video is doing actually relatively well. It's got like 400 something views. So check that out if you want an update in regards to Voltron. And I'll definitely go ahead and post I also posted a couple of shorts on here too from last week's Hero Report. I'll be posting more shorts throughout the rest of this week as well from clips from today's show. So certainly look out for that one also. And then, yeah, if we have any other big trailers that drop or big pieces of news that drop that I feel is worthy to talk about same day, I'll definitely go ahead and continue to drop more content for you guys there. While I have been seeing movies, I've been doing a lot more report card reviews for my movies over on our TikTok page. So if you want to check out, I just dropped my report card for Shelter, the Jason Statham film. I talked a little bit about that on our TikTok. We're at Hero Report. Again, on TikTok at Hero Report. There's also a report card for the Bone Temple on there also. And I'm going to go and fill out a report card for Send Help and probably record something for Send Help review over on TikTok as well. If not today, then definitely tomorrow for you guys. So a lot of my movie reviews via report cards are over at TikTok. And maybe every once in a while I'll post some of them here on the YouTube channel as well for you guys. But also I might do a Wonder Man review as well this week. So certainly look out for that. That'll definitely be coming your guys' way here on this channel, the Wonder Man series review, as I had the opportunity to watch all 8 episodes and definitely worth talking about. So we'll definitely talk about that later on here for you guys as well. But other than that, man, I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you, everybody, for certainly participating. We'll certainly be back next week. If you want to follow us on other social medias, at A+ Opinions everywhere. Facebook is our main page where we post news on the daily. So to keep you up to date on a daily basis, that's where you go for all your news. Your favorite fandoms, we'll post new posters, new trailers, any behind the scenes featurettes, some clips, shorts over there as well for you guys. We're very active on Facebook on a daily basis. So I would highly recommend you follow us there on social media. And then everywhere else you get your social media at A+ Opinions. Again, on TikTok at Hero Report. And most importantly, our main hub right here on our YouTube channel. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click the like button on this video. Feel free to share these videos, clip these videos, let people know about Hero Report because we truly grow through you guys. So thank you so much for everybody participating this week and joining me for today's show. But we certainly will be back next week. And in the meantime, do me a big favor as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.